Hey, what's up? This is Air Temple here. It's no secret I've been a fan of Veilance for quite some time. I've got quite a few bits, so I was super hyped that Veilance actually reached out asking if I wanted to review one of their brand new jackets. So of course I said yes, and here we are with the Veilance Monitor IS SL. So thank you very much to Veilance for being able to send this over. This is a very different jacket compared to the other things that I already own, so will make for an interesting comparison for sure, but nonetheless I think will fit in very nicely with my wardrobe. So let's take a look at exactly what some of those performance elements are, what some of those differences are that will make this, well, different to a lot of the other jackets out there, and where exactly does it sit in the realm of technical fashion. Let's talk about the look of the monitor first. It is a classic Veilance shape. This is a silhouette that they've used for many seasons now. It's long, it's sophisticated, it's sleek, it's minimal looking, and particularly when worn undone, it's very effortless, it's quite casual looking too. It's definitely a quietly technical sort of jacket. That helps with its wearability, I think. This is certainly making a bit of a statement though, and we'll come back to the various ways that you could wear and style this later in the video, because we would be remiss if we didn't talk about what is probably the single most noticeable feature of the monitor and what differentiates this one from previous versions, and that is the Gore-Tex Shakedry face fabric. If you've seen the product pics or the full body shots of this, you might be thinking that this material looks a little bit like a trash bag. And I have to admit, the first time that I saw this material used on a different jacket, I kind of thought the same thing. And it wasn't until I saw some up-close video footage of Gore-Tex Infinium, which is kind of similar looking, and that was when I really began to understand the kind of value of the look of this thing. And up close, in hand, I definitely get a much better impression of it than I do looking at those kind of little studio photos. So I'm going to do my best to show and describe this so you really get a true sense of what this material is like. It's very soft, it's very supple, it has this almost kind of very slightly textured quality, almost like a very thin leather. And while it does have a little bit of a sheen to it, it's a tiny bit reflective, that's definitely exacerbated by harsh studio lighting. So the product images, which of course are professionally studio shot, that makes it look a lot more kind of shiny and reflective than it actually is. I also think this version of the monitor, the IS SL, looks better than the SL, and in fact many other Gore-Tex Shakedry jackets. That's because the insulation gives a little bit more structure to it. It helps it look kind of less crinkled and less paper thin. Either way, Shakedry absolutely gives an unconventional look. It's not going to be for everyone, but it's something that you can understand a lot better up close. And it certainly makes for a great contrast compared to all of my other Gore-Tex hard shells, which have a noticeably different look and texture. But the real benefit of Shakedry isn't in its look, but what it does. And this is inherently a very different material to the 3-layer Gore-Tex construction that they are most typically known for. The wearing experience is a real contrast. This is a single layer membrane. It's basically the middle layer of the 3-layered Gore-Tex construction, meaning that this one layer is inherently water resistant. It is not DWR treated, so it doesn't have that kind of wearing off or need to be reapplied that DWR would do on a traditional Gore-Tex jacket. Also, because you are cutting out 2 of the 3 layers there, this is incredibly lightweight, and those 2 things together mean that you can literally shake it dry, hence the name. It's one of Gore's most recently developed and one of their least utilized fabrics. In the techwear space, you've got Tillac. They made a kind of packable jacket using this material. You've got the aforementioned Monitor SL, and that's really about it. You've got some other brands like Acronym and CP Company that have made things using Gore-Tex Infinium, which is similar looking, but that one has something kind of backed onto the membrane, whereas with Shakedry, they've removed that backing too. Infinium doesn't boast the ultralight construction, the level of breathability, nor the inherent water resistance of Shakedry, so this is the higher performance material in those departments. So sticking the Shakedry material on the monitor, which is one of Veilance's best known jacket silhouettes, is a surefire way to create something unique and mix up a traditional formula. It's really the weight of Shakedry which is the big advantage here for me, because obviously the bigger the jacket, the more weight you have to save by using a lightweight material. So it means that even though this jacket is insulated, the IS part of the name, it is still super light, the SL part. So despite its size, this thing is deceptively weightless. You can put it on super easily, it just doesn't feel like it's weighing you down at all. But it does still give a decent bit of warmth and a decent bit of protection. I found with a long sleeve t-shirt underneath this, that was totally fine for going out in kind of cool but not too cold weather, and you can always chuck a jumper in there or some other kind of mid-layer too if it really does get a bit chilly and you want to keep yourself nice and toasty, you know. As I mentioned, the face fabric is nice and soft and supple, fairly quiet as well, and there's quite a few features here which are designed for comfort. If you look on the inside kind of nylon-y fabric here, that's nice and soft and comfortable as well. You'll also notice a few other features like these internal cuffs here, made of this kind of stretchy, comfortable neoprene material. You'll see the same material used on the collar as well. I have to say, because of the face fabric and the insulation combined, this is a very different feeling to what I would normally wear, that kind of tooled up, you know, you got your base layer, you got your mid-layer jacket, you got your shell over the top. It's certainly a very different look in that you are getting away with wearing fewer things, and it just feels so effortless and so weightless to wear. It really is a pretty pleasurable experience. Like everything though, Shakedry does have its weaknesses. I don't get the sense, although I haven't damaged this myself, that this is the strongest fabric going. It does have a little bit of a delicate feeling to it, and in fact one of the ones that I received when I got it out of the box, it does have some visible signs of damage already. Now, of course, in normal circumstances, you would be able to return that and get a different one, but it kind of goes to show that I feel like this is something that might pick up marks and may kind of have damage caused by abrasion and stuff like that relatively easily. And it does make sense considering this is the central layer of what is typically a 3-layer fabric. So this is absolutely a casual wear, urban environment kind of thing, and not a out there on the mountain all day kind of thing. And considering Veilance is very much pitched to the former person rather than the latter, that does make sense. It kind of is the opposite fabric to the traditional 3-layer Gore-Tex stuff, so relative fragility is the trade-off for the very lightweight, the pliability, the softness, that ease of care as well, not needing to DWR treat it. And as we mentioned, the look of Shakedry isn't for everyone either, although I do think it looks nicer on the insulated jacket than a product designed to be kind of packed up and squashed into a bag, because you are going to see those wrinkles drop out a little bit better. The material and the insulation are absolutely the key characteristics of this jacket and what helps define the overall wearing experience. But there are a few other features in here too which help round things out, and again are very much designed with ease of use in mind. Take these hand pockets here for example. Although they are tucked away under these little flaps, keeping the face of the monitor very nice and clean and minimal, inside, unzip them. Not only is this zip track quite kind of fine, it's also positioned in such a way that when you put your hands in the pockets, it doesn't kind of grate against them. That is a fairly common complaint I have with zipped jacket pockets, is that they just feel a bit uncomfortable sometimes to get in and out, but this isn't the case here. Furthermore, on the inside, it's this really nice soft fleecy material, so absolutely very comfortable for sticking your hands in there to keep them warm. What's more, they're easily big enough both for hands and to store whatever kind of things you might want to, really. There's also 2 internal pockets. These are aligned differently. You've got a vertical one and a horizontal one to help kind of organize your stuff a little bit better, I think. And they're done so without bulking out the shape of the jacket, you know, keeping them internal, kind of inside the lining here. You're not relying on kind of big, bulky external pockets. For its intended use of casual city wear, it'll absolutely hold your wallet, your keys, your phone, 1 or 2 other bits that you might need too. A double zip also allows for some more options aesthetically, and from a usability perspective I normally find these quite useful too, especially if you're going to be sitting down in this and you've got it done up. It's much easier to just open up the bottom half and then kind of opens things out a bit so you can move around a bit more easily. The hood is well shaped. I think it looks pretty decent when it's up, which is normally the sign of a considered and well-designed jacket, as it seems to be often something that the cheaper manufacturers get wrong. It does also have some adjustability through some clever hidden toggles that you'll find kind of underneath the face fabric, kind of just around your neck area here, and you can pull down, some little toggles that are just underneath on the inside. There's also a hidden one at the nape of the neck as well, so you've got multiple points that you can help cinch this down. It doesn't quite quite go down to the level of acronym Storm Hood, for example, or the articulated hood that Outlier use, but it does nonetheless help keep this on in windier conditions, and it's certainly better than leaving it totally unsinged. Also check out the cuffs. They're a pretty cool shape, I think. They've got that nice, slightly geometric, angular look, which I find actually present on quite a few other areas of the jacket, like the little pocket flaps there. You've got those real angular cuts there. But it makes me feel a little bit kind of armored up almost, with that almost plated look of this piece of material coming down to the knuckle of the hand, but still with it cutting upwards around the thumb, so you've still got some ease of use and maneuverability there, where otherwise you perhaps wouldn't have. The zip, of course, doesn't go all the way to the bottom of the jacket, and the back pleat helps with maneuverability too. So you'll find all over this jacket, although there's not loads of kind of crazy, acronym-esque features, there are lots of small things which are just designed for comfort and for making things that little bit easier and that little bit more pleasurable than they normally would be. They're the kind of things that you just use day to day without really thinking about them, and all of those features are designed to work with you rather than adding stuff that maybe you have to think a bit harder about to actually make use of. Like, I don't know, gravity pockets or something. That's definitely not a Veilance thing. Let's go back to the overall look of this jacket and some styling options. I definitely think this looks better undone. It really helps evoke that slightly casual, more effortless look, and it allows the length of the jacket to do a bit of work as well. It can kind of flow around a little bit more easily, and yeah, it just looks nicer to me. It also stops the Gore-Tex Shakedry material being too centralizing, because yeah, it is going to be a bit of a love or hate type thing, but when it's done up, there's just a lot of it to look at, but when you have it undone, obviously it's broken up by whatever you've got underneath there, so it does just give a little bit of a visual contrast. I think this is another area where the product pictures don't necessarily do this jacket justice, because they do tend to have it done all the way up to the top, and I don't think it looks as good this way, frankly. I think if you are going to do it up, then leave it open a little bit, just so you've got a little bit more breathing room. The double zip does give a little bit of extra aesthetic option there as well, because you can opt to have it kind of done up or closed a little bit more by meeting the top and the bottom zip kind of 3/4 of the way up maybe, but you can still have it looking a little bit more flowy and a bit more undone at the bottom. So you're kind of getting a little bit of the undone benefit and a little bit of the done up benefit. Doing this does give some whiskers to the material, but I don't think it looks too bad. One of the things that does look good though is the colour of this jacket. Veilance describe it as black. It's not black. It's a kind of dark grey carbon sort of colour, so it does make for a really nice bit of contrast with black. It's just enough to make it look obviously different visually, but it doesn't stand out too much or be too jarring. So I think it will be quite easy to integrate in a lot of people's wardrobes for that reason. I've been wearing this with relatively slim cut things as a bit of a technical twist on a menswear classic silhouette. But saying that, because this is quite bulky, there's nothing wrong with wearing something that's a little bit more relaxed or a bit more of a straighter fit as well, just to kind of balance things out a little bit more. Either way, you're using this jacket to make a bit of a low-key statement, which sounds like a contradiction, but hopefully you understand what I mean. Veilance, I think, has a bit of a reputation for being very sleek, very minimal, very futuristic, but that doesn't mean that it has to be styled in that way. You can take those individual pieces and integrate them in different ways, wear them in different ways, and yeah, you can achieve some cool and interesting results. After all, the Monitor IS SL is absolutely one of the things that by itself looks more unusual, and thus lends itself to being worn in more unusual ways. In terms of sizing too, here I'm wearing both a size large and a size medium. Now for most jackets, I tend to go for a medium. However, I've tried on some Veilance stuff before, and some of the outerwear things I think do seem to fit me a bit better in large, so I went for the large initially for that reason, but I actually think this looks a little bit big on me, so the medium I think is a much better fit. So yeah, true to size, I think for this one is the way to go. It was particularly the sleeves I found too long on the large, whereas they seem to be just right on the medium. But either way, if you really want to get the best fit, then it's definitely best to compare the measurements of the Monitor to a jacket that you already own, and you'll be able to verify from there which one is going to be the best one for you and is going to fit you best. So what do I think of this thing overall? Well, I think it's got a real advantage in terms of just how easy it is to wear, both aesthetically and functionally. That super light construction, combined with the bit of insulation for warmth and that water resistance too, makes it a very easy choice for urban casual wear. I think this is probably best suited either for someone that's already a fan of Veilance and wants to start branching out into those more unconventional or unusual pieces, or like seeing those new materials used in new and innovative ways. Or someone who wants an alternative to a hard shell jacket that's going to be more appropriate for light urban use and gives a little bit more of a sleek and a sophisticated look and really goes in the other direction to the kind of tactical, ultra prepared stuff that we would usually see with these high performance materials and in this techwear technical fashion space. Because let's face it, the retail price of the Monitor IS SL is very high, so you're going to want to know that you can make maximum use of that Gore-Tex Shakedry material. And that's both because of its performance, i.e. that it is super light but still has that insulation, and from an aesthetic perspective as well. You're going to have to like that very unconventional kind of weird dark grey colour with that slight sheen to it that you maybe won't find in too many other jackets. And there you have it, the Monitor IS SL. I think this is going to have a great place in my wardrobe, both from an aesthetic perspective, because it does look so different to everything else that I've got, and from a utility perspective. It's going to be so easy to just chuck it on when I need to without really needing to think about it too much, and it's just going to be super light and comfy and just pleasant to wear. But it's over to you, of course. Let me know what you think about this jacket down there in the comments. Is this going to be the one for you, or are you more on the hard shell side of things? You prefer the idea of that heavier Gore-Tex 3-layer construction, or maybe, of course, something totally different. Either way, let me know your preference down there in the comments. I will be checking through them all as always, and thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a like. It is super appreciated. And yeah, thank you again for watching, and I will catch you next week with another video. Shout out to some early commenters of last week's video. We've got Josh saying Pepsi better than Coca-Cola. And shout out to Tattoo Elliot suggesting a video about 5 favourite things this year. It doesn't even have to be clothes. That is a very wide pool of stuff, but I'm not even sure if I can narrow it down to 5. And also suggesting collabs with other creators. Would definitely be up for doing stuff like that. So yeah, who knows, maybe sometime in the future. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you want to catch some more, there's going to be links going up at the top. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then definitely consider doing so, because I've got too many ideas for content coming up. So there's going to be a whole load of cool videos on all sorts of different brands, maybe some that you haven't even heard of yet. So yeah, stick around, it's going to be cool.